Caffeine and Coils, and I'm Deanna.
And I'm Jenny.
And we have a special guest with us today. Do you want to introduce yourself?
Yes, my name is Andrew Caraway, and I am the Digital Programs Manager here at Mingledorff's.
Nice. Thanks for coming in today.
Hey, no problem.
All right. What's our hot topic for today?
Today we're going to talk about zoning. So,
Yes.
Andrew, you're going to tell us all about HVAC zoning.
We heard you were the expert from being on the contracting side of the business.
Yeah, I was going to say the audience might be a little confused as to why I'm here, but yeah, I spent a lot of time before coming to Mingledorff's, about a decade, running a small air conditioning company in Auburn, and we did a lot of new construction zoning, but also a lot of retrofit zoning. So,
Okay.
a lot of experience. So probably say 3,000 or 4,000 applications in my life. So some easy, some hard. So a little bit of everything.
So what exactly is HVAC zoning and how does it work?
So zoning, in essence, is just being able to divide different parts of a building into air controlled zones, basically. Like if you, for example, if you're, a lot of times you'll see them like, if you have a bonus room or something, a lot of times it's nice to be able to have like another thermostat or something up there to where you can control the airflow up there. If you want a little bit cooler, a little bit hotter, if it's a room that you're not going to use as much or that you maybe use more than others, it's nice to be able to have that control.
Okay.
What are the primary benefits of implementing zoning in a residential or commercial HVAC system?
Well, so a lot of benefits to zoning. So first of all, energy efficiency, I would say, is number one. Being able to have that system not work as hard to heat and cool commonly you see one system for a house and it's either all in or it's going full bore the whole time. Zoning allows you to balance, and the system doesn't have to operate at full capacity at all times, which and hopefully will encourage the system to last a little bit longer than normal. But also, I think it adds a lot of added comfort in the house, cost savings, and then obviously the enhanced control of being able to control the zones.
Okay.
What types of buildings or homes are best suited for zoning?
So in my experience, I would say larger homes, especially multi-floor homes, are what you want to primary targets for zoning. You're going to see a lot of benefits to. I was able to heat and cool large homes with smaller systems simply because of zoning. Once again, we talked about earlier about the added efficiency, being able to lower the power bill, utility costs, things like that. But I'd say larger homes are probably your target audience or target demographic for zoning. We talked about multi-story buildings, but also too older homes. People don't talk about older homes that may have subpar insulation, older windows, things like that. Those would be primary targets for zoning, in my opinion.
And why? Like, what about having that less insulation and older windows makes it an ideal application?
Well, also too, when you have maybe an older home that's leaky, a leaky home, the air conditioning system has to work harder to keep that area comfortable. So having the ability to zone that area and be able to concentrate airflow into that particular area can help ease the comfort, especially during cold or hot months.
Okay.
And as a homeowner, what would I expect as far as the process of installing a zoning system?
So retrofit, so if you're going to install one after the fact, I think there's a couple of variables at play. First and foremost is what kind of equipment do you have? I think zoning can work on pretty much anything, but I think the more you definitely, if you have the ability to have variable speeds or multi-stage compressors, things like that, I think that helps the cause a little bit more. But the biggest thing is also too is you got to have your ductwork's got to be spot on. So that's one of the most important things. If I'm in a house and I'm going to add zoning, I need to make sure my ductwork is adequate, my static pressure is good, but also too that my airflow is addressed. If you have subpar airflow in existing ductwork, you're going to have that with zoning too. So I think those are probably where I would start first. And then once you go from there, just making sure your contractor runs a load calculation to make sure each zone is getting the proper airflow. That's one of the most important things.
Okay.
Okay, interesting. Does zoning have any impact on your indoor air quality?
So it can. Being able to cycle air more, I think, is a vital thing. Be able to reduce dust and allergens. You also being able to balance humidity, I think, is important
That's a
too.
good one.
Being able to keep that humidity under control in each zone is important. It can be a crucial aspect to IAQ or your indoor air quality when it comes to zoning.
What do you think are the most common challenges that arise with zoning systems?
Well, to piggyback on what we talked about a little earlier, duct design, I think, is super important. I think that's the genesis of anything you're trying to improve in the house. Your duct design has to be spot on. The other thing too is return air. That's another common mistake I see contractors make in the field is I was, in my experience, you can never have too much return air. You can have not enough, and your house will definitely feel it. But return air is really important. Thermostat placement is another thing. You want your thermostat to be close to that return or in the central point of that zone, so your air does stay balanced. I think that's really important. Also, too, there's little nuances like you can have damper failures, motor failures with the equipment, things like that can come about just through natural wear and tear of using it.
Okay, interesting. How you kind of touched on this earlier, but how does zoning impact the lifespan of the unit?
So reduced wear and tear is number one. Your system not having to work as hard to heat and cool the zones. I think that's really important. To add a couple of years to the lifespan of your system. But also too, things like the expanding the lifespan with the wear and tear, I think, is you want to make sure you're maintaining your system. According to manufacturers, most people do once a year, twice a year. I think is common. I've seen more people do once a year now. But I would say that would probably be the biggest thing is the reduced wear and tear.
And just a reminder, change your filter.
Yes, yes.
What role do HVAC contractors play in the designing and installing of zoning systems?
So, when we go out, the biggest thing is addressing customer issues that they may have with their home, asking them open-ended questions. Do you have hot spots? Do you have cold spots? Are there areas that are frustrating to you as a homeowner that are hot, harder to heat and cool? Is this area uncomfortable during the summertime? You may have, things like sunrooms, basements are difficult to get right because a lot of times basements stay cooler than other parts of the house, so it's hard to balance air down there. And then going from there, obviously, we talked about making sure that you design a zoning system using a manual J that balances that airflow of that system correctly. That's the most important part. And then the easy part's taking all that in and just doing the install from there, making sure that your zone dampers are installed correctly, making sure that you calibrate everything and do a troubleshooting after they're installed, making sure that air is balanced and every zone is getting the proper CFM.
How can homeowners who have zoned equipment kind of troubleshoot things before they call a professional?
So the biggest thing too is it depends on access. So if you have access to your dampers and you can, maybe in your attic or a crawl space or wherever they're located, making sure that damper is functioning, right? So is the damper opening? Is it closing? Are you getting airflow out of that zone? Is your thermostat, is your system, when you're calling for air, is it actually, functioning correctly? And then from there, you can see, okay, hey, maybe this zone damper is not working, or if I'm not getting any air out of any of my zones, well, then maybe it's a control board or things like that. So there's different ways to troubleshoot, but I think the main thing is just making sure that when your thermostat calls for air, that your system is turning off and on.
And it is one of the things that I check if we're having trouble, just to make sure that you can literally see like this little hand, almost like a clock.
Right.
Whether it's opened or closed. So I always, whenever our neighbors call and are like, hey, can you help me? I'm like, go in your attic and see if they're opening and closing. Like, that's the first thing.
Yeah.
One of the first things that I tell them to check, besides changing their filter.
Yeah. Changing the filters normally seems to do the trick with a lot of things. You kind of take that for granted sometimes.
Yeah.
What are some misconceptions about HVAC zoning that you'd like to clear up?
Misconceptions. I mean, do we have another hour on the show? I think you don't want to pigeonhole zoning into. I said it earlier, but only for large homes or only for multi-floor homes or things like that. You can zone single-story homes and things like that. The most important thing, though, like I said, is balancing the air, right? I think that is probably one of the most vital things with zoning is making sure that air is balanced, that your CFM is correct, that your static pressure is correct, but also make it, common misconception is you're not just, your end all be all isn't just a large home or a multi-floor home, or if I have a bonus room up here. Also, too, another thing is zoning. You hear, zoning is too expensive. Zoning nowadays, the products that our vendors use, and there's multiple vendors that we have that provide zoning from Carrier all across the board, right? That have different zoning modules and concepts. But zoning to me is not as expensive as people think. There's different ways to control that air, from thermostats to temperature sensors to you can get it on your phone. Right. Yeah. And to use that as well. So I think price is another thing that's is a misconception, is how much it costs to do it. But
well, in my mind, when I think about how my house is set up, we have one unit for 2 floors. We obviously have the 2 thermostats, but it's kind of nice because a lot of times that second story, if my son is with his dad or no one's up there, we're not really utilizing that square footage at the time. I don't feel like I'm heating or cooling that extra space because our thermostat will detect if someone's up there or not.
Right.
And not call for air up there if they're not. So, and in my mind, I'm like, okay, well, it's kind of good too, because when I go to replace the system, I only have one to replace versus 2 and having 2 separate units.
Yeah.
So,
and think of the cost savings of not having another system to maintain.
Yeah.
Another compressor that could go out, another unit to change out, things like that. And like you said too, zoning is so valuable, especially if you have areas that are high traffic or low traffic.
Yeah.
If you have area where maybe in the summertime you want to keep the upstairs a little cooler, maybe you want to keep it 70 up there instead of 72.
Yeah.
You have that ability to maybe get a little bit more air up there and less downstairs, right?
Yeah.
Same thing with bonus rooms, basements, things like that.
So as a person with a single story home, I mean, I have a basement, but most of our living space is the upper floor. But if I wanted to keep, say, my bedroom cooler than the other rooms of the house because I want to sleep in a colder room at night, is that possible with the zoning system?
It is. I think once again it comes down to I think each project should be viewed uniquely. When it comes to zoning, there's never a one size fits all with anything. That's the beautiful thing about air conditioning and our industry in general, is there is a solution for pretty much everything out there. It's just a matter of going out and evaluating that. In your aspect, having someone come out to evaluate, do you have, first thing, is your bedroom getting proper airflow? Does it have hot spots? Does it have cool spots? Do you have a lot of windows in the room? There's other things that people think about. Where's your return located? Where's your thermostat located? There's different ways to evaluate what makes a good candidate for zoning, maybe what would not make a good candidate for zoning. But I think that's up to the contractor and the homeowner to decide what's best for them. But I think ultimately you want to be a case by case basis, and also make sure that your contractor is doing a proper load calculation before making any final decisions, because that goes it's such a long way to making sure that you have quality airflow and everything and comfort.
Okay. Do you have any other questions for him?
I think that's all I have.
Okay.
That's been a lot of good information, though.
Yeah, it is. Thank you. As you should know, we're gonna play a little game. Because you're a fan of Caffeine and Coils, right?
That's right.
Okay. So I have some Thanksgiving trivia for you guys.
Okay.
You can't see the answers, right?
No, I can't see the answers, but I hope I am going to be good at this because Thanksgiving is one of my favorite holidays.
Which president declared Thanksgiving a national holiday?
Ooh.
You would take us straight to history. My least favorite subject.
I'm going to say, can we get one hint? Can we have a hint? Is it prior to 1900 or pre-1900?
Prior.
Okay, I have no idea. You gotta carry us on this one.
Is it Teddy Roosevelt?
It's Abraham Lincoln.
Oh my gosh, I was way off. Way off.
Oh my gosh.
Abraham Lincoln was busy.
I know, he was.
Yeah.
Give me Abraham back, man. He just got things done.
Yeah, what was the economy like then? What year was the first Thanksgiving celebrated?
Officially.
The year I was born. That's when it was.
That was your
officially-
first one?
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, I'm just kidding.
I'm going to say 1871.
1621.
Way off.
Are you kidding?
Mm-mm.
Way
Oh my
off.
gosh. Okay, I would have never guessed that, but okay.
All right. What is the name of the annual parade that takes place in New York City on Thanksgiving
Macy's
Day?
Day Parade.
I knew
do
Jenny
know
would
that
get that
one.
one.
What is the name of the annual football game played on Thanksgiving Day?
Surely you know this one.
The Turkey Bowl.
The Turkey Bowl. Okay, good, because I did not know that one. As a not really a football fan,
Yeah.
it's hard for us.
Or you can get you a turducken on Thanksgiving, right? If that's still a thing.
What was the name of the ship that brought the Pilgrims to America?
The Mayflower.
There you go. I knew there'd be a layup in here somewhere.
I know, right?
Started off a little difficult. Which U.S. president is credited with moving Thanksgiving to the fourth Thursday in November?
There goes the layup. We're trying to shoot for 3 points right now.
I'm going to say, is this also a pre-1900 or
No.
post-1900?
Post,
Man,
I think.
I don't. She said, I think.
she thinks. I'm going to say,
Listen, I need to like.
FDR.
No.
Oh my God, you're right.
Are you serious?
How about
Yeah.
that?
You need to go on Who Wants to Be a Millionaire.
I didn't have to phone a friend there.
I know.
How about that?
What is considered the traditional Thanksgiving dessert?
See, I feel like that depends on where you live.
I really
It
want to
could
say
depend, yeah.
pecan
Pumpkin pie, right?
Oh, pumpkin? I was going to say pecan.
It's
See,
pumpkin.
it-
That's what.
I was gonna
that's what they
say,
say.
yeah.
But
Okay.
I'm sure in the South it's probably pecan.
Yeah, or pecan. Depends on if you live
Pecan.
in South Georgia.
Y'all
or-
just weigh in and let us know if you say pecan or pecan. We'll know based on your spelling.
I say pecan.
I say pecan.
It depends on where I'm at.
He said it
Who-
depends
what
on
kind of
what
company
time
I'm
you
you
bad
are.
with peer pressure. If everyone around me says pecan, I'm 100% not standing out. You know?
He said peer pressure.
You know, it's like one of those things. Like if you're eating Mexican food with a friend, they order a quesadilla, but you know it's quesadilla.
Oh
you just
my gosh, that's
you're like-
hilarious.
Yeah.
you just don't even.
I
won't
won't
even fight
ever
it.
forget going to see my grandparents. Like, this is like the earliest memory I have of going to Denver to see them and ordering sweet tea at the restaurant we were eating at, and everyone just like busting out laughing at me. And I did not, like, no clue sweet tea was not a thing out there.
Oh yeah,
No clue.
yeah. It's the only sweet tea out west that I've noticed is McDonald's.
I think Chick-fil-A
And
too.
Yeah. Your fast food restaurants that
Yeah.
they stay true to it. You know,
Thank
Chick-fil-A,
the Lord for
McDonald's, but also things that you take for granted like queso.
Okay. Yeah.
There's a certain place in the country when you get further west that it's no longer
Really?
queso. Right? No.
that. Okay, I didn't know that.
Yeah.
When I
Did not
moved
know
to Texas, I didn't know that boiled peanuts weren't a thing. So I asked my coworkers, like, "Hey, where can you get some boiled peanuts around here?" And they were like, "What? What are you talking
This
about?"
must have been West Texas.
I was like, "Yeah, you know, like it was smack dab in the middle, actually."
Oh my gosh.
I had a coworker a few jobs ago who did not know what a boiled peanut was, never had them. I remember, like, we went on a field trip. Like, here you go, you gonna try them today.
They're so good. I love them.
I
All right,
love
last question. How many turkeys are prepared for Thanksgiving in the U.S. each year?
I feel like this has to be in the millions.
I'm gonna say 2.5 million.
You're way off.
1 million.
46 million.
That's a lot
Oh my
of
gosh,
turkeys.
are you kidding? I would have never guessed it to be 46
Because
million.
think about people sometimes do too, you know?
I know, because if you have, like us, you have like a Friendsgiving and then a Thanksgiving.
Those turkeys are just taking L's
I know.
all year
Poor
long.
turkeys, man.
Golly.
Spending all year trying to get those turkey numbers back up.
Unless you go to honey baked ham, though.
Mhm.
Forget about
See, there are
ham.
different things on Thanksgiving that are good to cook, you know, because now we've dipped into the fried turkey.
Oh, yeah, I do
Well-
like that.
Game changer. Complete game changer.
I do. I love a fried turkey, but we also will smoke a turkey
Oh yeah.
on the Pit Boss. Highly recommend.
I just go to other people's houses. I don't cook. So
That's
I'm going
actually
to
a good
Jenny's
plan.
house this year.
Yeah, come to my house this year.
All right.
Thanksgiving is on my holiday for my family, though. Like,
Yeah.
we always host Thanksgiving now. And there's always, I mean, we got mimosas some years it's Bloody Marys. I mean, Thanksgiving is done right at the Brown house. So.
My criteria for Thanksgiving is I'm going to judge you on the sides.
Oh,
Okay,
sides-
so what are the sides you can't live without?
If you don't have mac and cheese, I'm done.
Okay.
Okay.
Always have mac and cheese.
Mac and cheese.
What
Stuffing is
else? Okay, wait.
You know,
Stuffing
dressing.
or dressing? Which one do you prefer?
I like dressing better.
I would
want
say
dressing,
I'm
too.
with the dressing.
Yeah,
Dressing.
I want dressing.
Yeah.
I will eat your stuffing and still be happy, but I really want dressing.
You know, potato salad is another. I'm
Not-
very
not
critical on
having
potato salad.
We're gonna do mashed potatoes.
Mashed
Yeah,
potatoes are good too.
potatoes.
Gotta have the
Also,
staples.
they have to be like the mac and cheese has to be homemade. The mashed potatoes have to be homemade.
Yeah.
I think we talked about this with Carrie Turner on the last episode.
But if I just
Well, he would be a good one to talk to about
Well,
pour
that.
the
we talked
Kraft macaroni and cheese in my home, it's homemade.
no, ma'am, no, ma'am.
You'll never. I bet I could make it and you wouldn't know. You'd be like, "This is so good."
I can
Tina."
tell by them noodle shapes. And what is that powdery cheese? Like you can't have powdery cheese. Like it's just not real.
All right. Well, that's all we have for today. So thank you for coming, Andrew.
No problem. Appreciate y'all having me. Y'all are killing it.
Thank you.
Doing a
Thank
great
you.
job with this show. So appreciate you having me on.
Yep, thank you.
Thank you.
Don't forget to rate, review, and subscribe.